You know, what's happening with Simone Biles and her husband, Jonathan Owens, is really a reminder to any couples out there that want a healthy relationship. You might as well keep it private. Unless if you're a black woman and a white dude, then nobody's gonna have a problem with it. then it's then it's gonna be praised. That you'll be fine for the most part. But if you're any other couple, I'm talking about like literally any other couple, you might as well just keep it private because it's kind of weird the stuff that I'm seeing, particularly with black women literally praying for Simone Biles to get a divorce. Like so much to the point where when Jonathan Owens was playing with the Packers, I'm talking about you had a whole cohort of BWs literally rooting for this man to lose just because he said what he said in terms of saying I'm the catch. It's weird. It's very weird. I'll say this, man. I'm so happy, low key, that I know black women outside of social media because just off social media alone, I would not touch most black women. Meaning, I would not even be around them if I was just going off of social media. Because the stuff that I've seen BW say, particularly via Twitter, is it's mind boggling, mind boggling. Here you have a young sister doing the right thing. She found the man that she wanted. She chased after the man that she got. She got married. She did it the right way. And you got, I'm talking about like on the day of her wedding was the pictures come out. You got BWs making fun of her edges, making fun of the union, acting like she ain't doing nothing. And it's weird. It's really weird. It's really I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, even though I know what it is. Like I said, if Simone Biles was dating or had married a white dude, because I would have sworn she had went. I think she went out with a. She had a white boyfriend before, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I remember seeing a picture of her in the past where she had a white boyfriend. But I don't know. But so I believe I believe it's because she married a black man. And I know it sounds weird, but people don't like mainstream society does have no clue in terms of what's going on with just the hatred that most BWs have for the average black man. They get played by Pookies in the Ray Rays, and then they get mad at the dudes that even have sex with them. That's really the state of the whole world when it comes to women. They get used up by the Chads and blah blah blah, and the men of status, and because they can't lock down, they get mad at us, regular dudes. That I don't know how it makes sense in their head, but I always look at it like this: the reason why they hate the average man is because they're always chasing the top, and that's those top dudes. Those are the dudes that they want to be able to show to their girlfriends or to the public in large that I can keep a guy like that. But once they end up having to settle down later on in life, and the guy that they end up quote unquote settling for quote unquote, once they realize they can't even keep a guy like that, or basically once they have a guy like that, they're just so disgusted at the guy because there is like that ultimate realization to them. I can't get the guy that I really want, and he's the only guy, a guy of that attraction that I have, the so-called average guy. He's the one that I'm qualified for, and I was never going to get the quote unquote fairy tale. So they end up getting mad at the guy, even though basically she gets the average woman gets mad at the average guy because she's mad that that's the best that she can do, and basically that guy is saving her life, and she knows it, and that's the best that she can do. So it's that almost a self hatred in terms of that's the best that I could do. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's go to Simone Biles here. So Simone Biles here, she's going to share her reaction after people criticize Jonathan Owens, her husband, for his viral "the catch" comment. She goes on to say, "I thought it was hilarious at first, and then they hurt my feelings. I broke down." So right here, let's read the description before I play the audio. It says, last December, Jonathan Owens appeared on the Pivot podcast. And when asked about how he and his wife, Simone Biles, got together, he told the story in detail and shared that he thinks men are the catch. Well, I don't think he said, well, let's, okay, you see, it's not, it's not that he said that men are the catch. It's just like he, this was after when they had asked him, oh, so how did you get Simone Biles? But really, he said he said first, well, so you should have really asked how Simone Biles got me. And then after he explained through, I didn't really know who she was at first. And then she got to know me. I got to know her, blah, blah, blah. And then they had, and then Ryan had asked them, yo, are, what do you say? Or do you think that, he was like, so you believe you're the catch? And he said, oh yeah, if you ask me, I'll say men are the catch. He said basically we're the catch. So this is where, uh, so this is where, this is where 304 is lost in mind, even though he's right. And I'll explain that later. I'll explain that later. His comment didn't sit well for some folks. Oh, for some folks. And he was trending across social media for it. Months later, Simone chopped it up with Alex Cooper on the Call Her Daddy oh Lord. The Call Her Daddy podcast. Anyway, oh Lord. Months later, Simone chopped it up with Alex Cooper on the Call Her Daddy podcast and shared her reactions to it all. Okay, let's listen because this is on the Call Her Daddy podcast.
Your reaction when you heard the interview and everything?
I was in the room. I was sitting.
Wait, did she just ask her what was your reaction when you saw the interview? She was there. You see, this is the problem with people, bro. They don't, you see, let me channel my African dad thing. The African parent interpretation. You see, you don't no, I'm playing. But for real, this is ridiculous. Did they watch the interview? But maybe they forgot that it was Jonathan Owens and Simone Biles in the they were there together at the maybe she said the question wrong. Maybe she said the question wrong.
Sitting on the chair, you just couldn't see me on the videos. And I'm so excited. And like they even panned over to me.
So they cut out that part. So you know what? They probably didn't watch the interview. Because you hear that quick edit real there. She was probably saying, "Oh, my bad."
With that viral moment, and I just like roll my eyes and laugh because like whenever he did that interview, I thought everything was okay.
I'm dying.
And then I go on Twitter and everybody's like, divorce this man. He's mean. And I'm like, he's the sweetest. He praises the ground that I walk on. Like, truly, I've never met a man like him. Yeah, so I didn't think anything of that interview. And he never said I wasn't a catch. He said he was a catch because he is. I've never met a man like him. A lot of people that meet him are like, oh my gosh, like I want a man like that.
Why do you think people got so upset?
Because he wasn't.
Let's keep it a buck, Simone. Why do you think people, and particularly it was a, well, I'm not going to say it was a particular community because it ended up being like, I remember even seeing some white bitch in New York interviewing people talking about, do you know who Simone Biles' husband is? I'm like, man, if she asked the right ones, because I would have called her out. I would have been like, whoa, time out. I'm not going to let you as a white woman bash a black man for saying he's a catch. Who's to say that coming from you, a bitch with a random microphone, to say this black man is not a catch just because you say so? Who are you? I would have told her that straight up. But she has the right, the right people, and most people are normies. So I wouldn't expect somebody like that to give the proper deference and respect. And that'll be the same bitch that would literally sleep with a guy like that, a married guy like that, just to prove a point. And then she's gonna be out here acting up all high and mighty, talking about we don't even know who he is. Even the guys don't know who he is. Anyway, let's keep this going.
First of all, that interview had nothing to do with me. It was all for him. So I think they were mad that he didn't include me in the interview, but he has to have his moments too. And I let him.
What was your reaction when you heard the interview and everything?
Have it. Whenever I go to football games, like sometimes I get field passes, but I'm not like, hey, look at me, Simone Biles is here. I just want to see my man in that uniform. Give me a little kiss. Good luck out there. And I love to support him. So I think that they were mad that whenever they said and by the way, like he said it, but Ryan Clark like said it so many times, like, yeah, so you're saying, so it was kind of hyped up.
So shout out to Simone Biles for low key, because that was low key Ryan Clark's fault. Because first of all, when Ryan Clark, to me, I don't trust that nigga. But anyway, sorry, that slipped out of me. I couldn't control myself. Anyway, so when Jonathan Owens was talking about his story, and then Ryan Clark made that scrunch face, act like he didn't believe him. Ryan Clark be playing that role a little bit too hard sometimes, and it comes off as very disingenuous. And he was basically acting like Jonathan Owens was capping the whole time instead of just doing the interview. And he kept repeating certain questions just to clarify. Nigga, just ask the question, bruh. Anyway, man.
Yeah.
Boys, whatever, like
Yes.
those conversations or drinking their little tequila, whatever it is.
When that was all going crazy and trending, what are you guys saying to each other?
So I thought it was hilarious at first, and then they hurt my feelings.
Right.
And then I broke down and I'm like, why are you guys talking about my husband like this?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know him, you don't know who he is.
And remember, I'm talking about, it was cohorts of women like literally hoping that this man lose, in terms of when the Packers was playing the not just the Cowboys, but also who else did the Packers face next in the round? I think that's when, then they played the 49ers. If I'm not mistaken, then they played the 49ers or the Lions. Let me see. Packers 2024 playoffs. Because I could barely remember that game. I barely remember that. That was the 49ers. Yes, the 49ers. So, yeah, that was weird, man. People were being weirdos. I was like, y'all some weirdos. Y'all cheering for a whole team just because he said what he said. That's weird, man. Anyway, let's continue the interview.
Anybody's met him, they know he's the sweetest guy and will do anything for anybody. And so that really hurt that they were talking about my husband like that. Because for me, it's like, talk about me all you want, but don't come for my family. Have it. Whenever I go to football games, like sometimes I get field passes, but I'm not like, hey, look at me.
I didn't know who she was at the time, but
so this is the part that got straggles all up in a bunch.
Like the first thing that I saw was that she just had a bunch of followers. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, she got to be good. I promise you,
this is the face where Ryan Clark was quote unquote calling cap. But I don't know. I believe as men, we shouldn't be showing up each other like that. But men don't really stay on code when it comes to stuff like this. But it's all good. It's all good. Well, I'll let that slide.
When she won the Olympics, I was in college, and we didn't have NBC, we didn't have Olympic channels. And
now, first of all, I don't know why people think it's so far-fetched for a football athlete to not really know the ins and outs or who's the best gymnast in the world is. I don't know why people think it's far-fetched. Do you know how many people know who Kylian Mbappe is? If I ask the average normie, some people, there's a lot, even though Mbappe is the best football player in the world, soccer player in the world, right? They call it soccer in the States. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world, but not in the States. If I ask the average, some people might not even know who Mbappe is. I'm talking about, I can go through, I'll say, okay, do you know, people know about Hakimi now, right? Because of the situation with him and his mom, right? And him being able to hide his assets. But most people don't know he's the best right back in the world. They don't even know that. He's the best. He's the best. He's literally at his best. He's the best right back in the world. Currently, I'm talking about currently. Basically, for the past 2 to 3 years, it's been either him, Kyle Walker, Frimpong, or Trent as the best right backs in the world. He's you can say he's number one. He can easily say I'm number one. And if you want to say Kyle Walker instead of him, okay, I give you that. You know what I mean? So people don't even know that. So and this is the biggest example I'm going to give right here. Remember when DK Metcalf and Shannon Sharp had like a quote unquote beef? And you know why that was? Shannon Sharp had called out DK Metcalf for doing something. And DK Metcalf, mind you, these are Shannon Sharp, Hall of Fame tight end, one of the most famous football players of all time, Hall of Famer, on TV, play for the Broncos and the Ravens. Very well known in football circles. People know who he is in terms of his football playing career. So when Shannon Sharp had called out DK Metcalf for doing something, DK Metcalf proceeded to tear Shannon Sharp a new one. And the way he basically said, who the hell is he? He's never played the game. He doesn't know what it's like to. And I'm like, you do know Shannon Sharp's a Hall of Famer. But people forget a lot of these football players, everything they train for, everything is like all centered around them. Everything. Why do you think all these women be talking about, oh, men are narcissists? Because they only try to date these football players. And of course they're narcissists. They literally have to be focused on what they're doing if they want to get to the next level. Anyway, man, Anyway, because those are the dudes that women be actually be trying to be submissive to temporarily, and they realize they can't do it because it's when you're dealing with an athlete and when you're dealing with American women, they're dealing with football players and basketball players, and when you're dealing with guys like that, it's their world is pretty self-centered because it has to be so they can get to where they need to be. So these are the things that the little things that people don't get. Of course, a guy like a Jonathan Owens, who had to struggle to get to where he's at in terms of getting the placement to be on the Green Bay, to be on the Packers team in general, for a guy like Jonathan Owens, who I don't know what round he was drafted in. Let me see Jonathan Owens draft pick. So where was he drafted? So he went undrafted. Jonathan Owens went undrafted. So he literally had to claw his way into the NFL. So guys like that are very like focused. They can't afford, and obviously now he's a starting safety for the starting strong safety for the Packers. But to get to that position, being undrafted, he had to literally claw his way to get to get into that position. Undrafted, that's not easy. So a guy like that, he's not focused on gymnastics, guys. If you ask him, if I told him, do you know who Mbappe is? He probably might know, but he really might not know. If I asked him, do you know who if I had asked him, do you know who Ederson is by any chance? He'd be like, who he play for? And who I just mentioned is somebody who's considered like a top 5 goalkeeper in the world. You know what I'm saying? The world, one of the most famous soccer players in the world too. Do you know who Iniesta is? I'm talking about, these people are regarded worldwide. A lot of these football players, they don't know. He was probably born what? I'm pretty sure he's born. What age is he? He's got to be born. So let me look up Jonathan Owens' age. Jonathan Owens' age. How old is he? He's 28 years old, born 1995. I know a woman that was born in 1997. She didn't know who Outkast was, but she knew what Heya was, but she didn't know what Outkast was. So it's not like Gen Z don't be knowing everybody like that.
We're in camp. Late July, early August. So I'm not paying attention to, so I never would have had a moment to where I would have watched like.
Yeah, Ryan Clark, he just made it worse because he was acting like he was capping, but anyway.
Jonathan, I'm gonna let you finish your story, man. Continue.
But like I was saying, man, she messaged me. This was like a Tuesday, and we texting back and forth, and then we hung out Friday, man. And, we couldn't do much as COVID happened. Everything was shut down. So she came through down to Houston. She lived in the suburbs, so she had to drive about 40.
I think when he said, I don't know who she was, I think people are taking it as, oh, I didn't know who she was at all. He probably knew of her, but didn't know like the impact in terms of how big her star power really was. He probably just knew her as, okay, almost like how we know of who's a really good college basketball player. Sorry, female college basketball. She probably knew of her as like how we know of who's the really tall bitch on South Carolina, the really tall one. Or I'll say this, he probably knew her as Cardoso from the the real tall light-skinned bitch from South Carolina. He probably saw her as, in terms of, okay, she's well known in gymnastics, or she has a lot of followers. Oh, okay, so she probably one of those girls that has a decent following because of how she looks. Or he probably was thinking, oh, she okay, she working with something and she got some follow. Oh, okay, because do you know how many gymnasts that I know that are like, do you know how many female gymnasts or female athletes nowadays that just get 20,000 followers off GP as soon as they turn 18? They get like 20,000 followers off of Instagram. They post themselves just as a product. I'm talking about they'll be playing like D2, D3 basketball somewhere, but because they have a pretty photo and female athletes are in terms of getting the most male followers in terms of looking at their bodies and whatnot, that he probably thought he was dealing with that at first, but really he didn't realize the impact of, oh, look, this woman, like, she's actually like might be the best female gymnast of all time. You know what I mean? He didn't realize probably the impact of who I'm actually dating. So, but for some reason, people they took it, and it's almost like they had PTSD when they were dealing with that dude that told her she wasn't shit once they broke up.
5 minutes to me. then the rest is history, man. So
you was really the catch in.
I always say the men that catch, man.
So really, Ryan Clark was trying to throw shade when he said that. And shout out to Jonathan Owens for standing 10 toes down like a man. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, that's coming from a man that had to claw and fight to the position where he had to be. You know what I mean? And shout out to you, boy. Shout out to you, boy.
I always say the catch, man.
Yeah, so she really booked you.
She did though.
Is what you said.
Because I was fighting it. I didn't know who she was.
Yeah, and then you have the look. I'll say this because I at first I remember when they had their podcast with Fred Taylor. Was it Fred Taylor, Brandon Marshall, Ryan Clark, and Crowder. But I stopped watching that podcast as soon as I saw Dwayne Wade came on there, and they didn't ask him no real questions on like, yo, how come your son a daughter now? Like, if you're gonna have a nigga like that on your podcast, like a Dwayne Wade, but you gonna grill my nigga here for saying he's the catch or act like he capping, but Dwayne Wade right there, you know, and he's literally he's turning his son into a daughter, and we're just supposed to act like it's normal. But Jonathan Owens not knowing who a bitch is, it's abnormal. What kind of world are we living in right now? This is crazy. I'm talking about Dwayne Wade was on their podcast, and they just act like everything's all good. Nobody's gonna ask him the real question, homie. Why you got your nails painted? Why do you think this was a good idea to turn your son into a daughter? What's going on? Is there any? They didn't ask no that ninja no real question. Anyway, let me stop before I get my channel removed.